War Eagle! This is the Tigers and Tide Auburn Football Podcast from SoutheasternFootball.com. Available on War Eagle Sports Radio, a V-Sporto channel, bringing you all Auburn Tigers all the time. Remember to download the War Eagle Sports Radio free iOS app and follow their channel on Twitter at War Eagle Radio. Here are your hosts, Brett Mason and Jamie Thomas.
Broadcasting live from our respective Alabama and Auburn bunkers in southeastern Alabama, I am Brett Mason along with my co-host Jamie Thomas. War Eagle, man.
Roll Tide, roll.
Our show, as always, brought to you by Odds Worth Betting, one of the best pick services in the country. So far this year, they're up $13,000. You can see the proof of their picks at southeasternfootball.com/win. And make sure you sign up to check out their free picks and plays at southeasternfootball.com/win. We are a proud compensated affiliate and glad to have those guys as sponsors of the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time for the Big Five.
So we'll talk about 5 of the biggest things that are being talked about. This list doesn't always necessarily have to do with Auburn football. It could be the SEC in general, could be the NCAA, could be our show. There's a hodgepodge on this week's Big Five. ESPN says Auburn has the second best O-line in the SEC behind Arkansas. In that, you be quiet and let me finish. I'm quoting the article now. Though Reese Dismusic is gone, there's a lot to like here. Sean Coleman, Devontae Danzy, Avery Young are back as starters. You got Alex Kozan returns from his injury. And, of course, the former Ole Miss standout Austin Golson appears to be at center. I'll tell you this, since they wrote that article, it's come out that there's a heated battle going on. Xavier Dampier and Austin Golson now battling it out for the center position, which is good. It just means more depth. Whichever one wins it, the other guy will contribute there. And, so that's good news.
I'm not real sure what I think about, position battles on center. I don't know. I guess you want to have the best guy in there, but as long as both of them have a good relationship with the quarterback and are on the same page, I think either guy's going to be, just fine there.
Well, I'll tell you what I think it is. And matter of fact, Gus Malzahn alluded to this again this week. He talked about what a unique person a center on his offense is. They're like a play caller. They do audibles at times. They make sure everybody's lined up, and they have to know the entire playbook cold. And I think that may be the hang up. It may be the knowing the playbook cold may be what's causing one to not win out so much over the other. But I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. No. Number 2 on the Big Five, Javon Robinson fell behind. This is shocking to me, too. He's apparently behind all the other running backs now. The running back coach was talking to one of those AL.com reporters and hinted that it's because he isn't showing up for team practices on time, meetings on time. I mean, this is you came from JUCO. Mm-hmm. This is your time to shine with the big boys and hopefully snag you a contract. I don't understand it, Jamie. These things just blow my mind every time I hear them.
I know. It seems like every week it's a whether it be Bama, Auburn, or several other teams across the nation. Man, it's given the perfect opportunity to make something of themselves and just not taking it serious.
Number 3 on the Big Five this week is actually some talk about the front on offense, which hadn't got a lot of attention. But Gus went out of his way to talk about how deep they are there and how good it is. As a matter of fact, his quote was that they are the deepest and with the highest quality since he's been at Auburn, which I know at least one of those years isn't saying a lot. But he says there's 7 to 9 deep there of solid people that could all play week to week and do an excellent job. That's good news. I mean, depth is such an issue at a lot of positions. As an Auburn fan, that's good news for me to hear.
Yeah.
One of the things that is kind of a source of amusement between me and my Auburn friends when we talk about it, I think it's 3 times now Gus Malzahn has gone out of his way to talk about what a factor the scoreboard is going to be.
That thing is massive.
I mean, they're actually doing extra reps, especially for special teams, kicks, punts, returns, because he's talking about that thing is going to be so distracting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if they had turned it around the other way, it could light up the entire city of Auburn, Opelika. I mean, you could see that thing all the way in Montgomery. in the middle of the night. I mean, I'm sure, there'll be satellites flying over during football games, and you'll be able to see that high-def craziness from way above in the heavens. I mean, it's just absolutely massive. It's a beautiful creation. It's great, but you better wear sunscreen to the game even at night because that thing's going to burn you.
Well, and not only that, did you watch the video where they showed off the other not only is it the scoreboard and video screen, it shoots these beams down the bleachers and changes the color of them it just beams them with orange light and blue light and I mean the whole bleachers all the way to the other end of the stadium. It's like,
what happens if that goes off during a game when it's not supposed to?
I don't know.
I mean, Melvin Ray or somebody, whoever your punt returner is going to be back to kick, return a punt, and all of a sudden there's this big orange light in his face, and he fumbles the football. Referee's going to stop the game, or is that just part of the environment?
He takes a laser to the eye.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess
laser was in my eye, coach. Sorry.
I guess it had to be approved, right? I don't guess there's anything the refs can do about it. It had to be approved, right?
I'm almost certain. Anytime Bama's facing that thing during the Iron Bowl, that thing will be wide open.
I bet.
In fact, they'll probably replay the kick six so many times. Every time the field goal kicker comes on the field, we're going to see the kick six.
You know those videos that have the flashing lights that causes people to go into seizures?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what's going to be on the screen every time Alabama has the ball during the Iron Bowl. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see if it's as big a deal as Gus is making it out to be. Number 5 on the big list is something we will talk about later in the show. We are happy to be kicking off our free picks contest. You can win free weekly prizes, and we for sure want you to get involved in that. All you got to do is go to southeasternfootball.com/picks if you want to go ahead and get signed up for that and listen a little bit later on in this very podcast where we'll have more details about it.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. Just search for Tigers and Tide.
Let's talk Duke Williams. I said last week I was done talking about him.
Here we are again.
But, well, some more things have come out about it, and I find them interesting. I think kind of positive, so I'm going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, Duke Williams probably is just going through the motions of moving up the depth chart. I don't think there's probably any doubt that he's going to be Gus's number 1 receiver. He just wants Duke Williams to recognize, son, I can knock you down a peg anytime I want.
That's right.
I don't think there's any doubt. It may be even the first game that he may not start. They might not bring him in for a few series.
It might be the second series when
right.
He comes in.
So, quote unquote, he isn't the starter. But I don't think there's any doubt he's going to be the go-to guy. So we'll just see how that pans out. But there was an interesting article came out where there was some quotes from one of his friends, the junior tackle Devereaux Lawrence, said that he's real close friends with him, and he's been trying to help him through this by telling him to read Bible scriptures and watch T.D. Jakes Ministries.
Never heard of it.
But if it's helping, I think the most interesting thing he said, for him to be one of his closest friends, he said he's doing fine. And then there's another junior on the team, Marcus Davis. He addressed the whole issue of is there some kind of contention between the team, which is what worried me. You never want one guy to be the guy that the team is like, well, screw him.
Right.
Apparently that isn't there. He says that he's back in the mix. He's motivating his teammates. He's keeping them up. He's very humble about it. I think all these are good signs for Auburn fans who have worried a little bit about.
Well, even if it was there, they're not going to air that dirty laundry in public. What Duke Williams needs to do, he needs to take this and understand that, second chances are a gift. Sometimes even third chances are a gift. He needs to make this a learning experience. He needs to, he needs to have personal growth from the situation. And then he just needs to get ready to put his helmet on and go out and make the spectacular plays that we've seen him make last year.
It's time for Ask a Barner. Submit your questions on Twitter or Facebook using the hashtag AskABarner. You can also private message us your questions at facebook.com/TigersAndTide or email us ask@tigersandtide.net. Our favorite questions come from the voicemail box. We'd love to put your questions on the air. Just call 334-377-0329 and leave your question as a voicemail. That's 334-377-0329. This is Ask a Barner with Brett Mason and Jamie Thomas.
You can ask us any question that you would like, and we'd love to get voicemails, 334-377-0329, 334-377-0329, and we will play those on the air if you send them to us. We just have one question for Ask a Barner this week, and it's from John Bergen, who sent it on Facebook. I think with Jeremy Johnson, we will see less deep passes and more quick timing routes like screens and slants and high percentage passes. What do y'all think, he says? I'll let you field it first, Jamie.
I mean, we've seen the arm that Jeremy Johnson has when he filled in for Nick Marshall last year. I mean, he's got an outstanding arm. And then with weapons, I mean, like Duke Williams, Melvin Ray, Ricardo Lewis, how do you not throw the ball down the field? I think we're going to see him go deep at least 4 or 5 times a football game.
If he does that, and I for the most part agree with you, that wouldn't be that dissimilar from what he did with Nick Marshall. I think that is more of a Gus Malzahn philosophy, in that you try to hit them with the run, you try to soften them up, you try to bring people in, and then you catch them sleeping downfield. I just think that's his philosophy, and it's going to matter. I mean, he tried it with Nick Marshall, and Nick Marshall is a worse passer than my grandma was before she passed away, and she had bursitis on her shoulders so bad she could hardly move. If you're going to take that guy down the field, why wouldn't you be taking this guy who can actually?
Well, Nick Marshall believed, though. I mean, he threw it up and he believed, Brett. Come on.
This is Tigers and Tide Picks, a weekly segment where we award free prizes to the winner of our Fantasy Picks League, and we get tips from one of the country's best sports pick analysts. You can follow her at 3YITC or visit her online at 3yardsinthecloud.com. Welcome, our guest expert, Elizabeth Sturdivant.
All right, here we go. Our new pick segment featuring none other than Elizabeth Sturdivant. She's from 3yardsinthecloud.com. By all means, book that site and follow her on Twitter at 3YITC. She hosts Money in Your Pocket. She's also a guest on several shows like Scout.com's Fantasy Sports Radio and Sirius XM. And how we got her on this show, I don't know, but we're glad she's here.
Touching on what you said to begin with,
shut up.
It could be, if Auburn loses a couple of games, it may just be me and you for a while, because Brett gets real irritated and becomes unbearable. So,
that was a fabulous introduction, and I have to say, boys, I am truly honored to be on your show.
You are by far the most intelligent, the most educated, and the most attractive person on the podcast now, and that's just a feather in our cap. I'll just be honest with you.
Wow. I don't even know what to say about that. I hope that I do not disappoint you boys.
So let's talk real quick, Elizabeth, about week 1, the Alabama game, Auburn game, and other games maybe that you like, which we're less than 2 weeks away. We're very excited about opening weekend.
Yeah. Well, I like it's funny because last year I really didn't pick Alabama to cover the spread a lot because I didn't like the lines very much. And I believe the one time I picked them to cover the spread was against Auburn, and they won, but they didn't cover the spread. But Alabama this year, we've got Alabama minus 11 versus Wisconsin. And look, if you haven't put your money down on this one yet, you'd better before this line goes up to 14, because the only reason this line is at 11 is because Wisconsin was able to run the ball in their opener last year against LSU. And look, they almost pulled off the upset against the Tigers. Wisconsin needs to run the ball well to win. And last year, they only had one game in which they rushed for less than 200 yards. And I don't know if you guys know what happened in that game, but they got spanked by Ohio State 59-0. So, look, do you really think Wisconsin can run on this Alabama front seven with only 2 returning offensive linemen? There's just no way. I mean, Bama only gave up 3.2 yards per rush last year. And by all accounts, I mean, their front seven is deeper and better than last year. And look, Joel Stave will not beat Bama with his arm. I mean, no way. I think offensively, it just won't take much for the Tide to cover the 11 points. And I do expect to see great things out of Kenyon Drake and Derrick Henry. So just take the Tide, start the season off right. Don't be scared either by the lack of clarity from the Bama quarterback situation. And look, by the way, Don't you think the Alabama coaching staff is sick and tired of hearing that Urban Meyer is considered the best college football coach? I was actually when Alabama plays Tennessee and they play Rocky Top for the entire practice and just makes the players sick of it. I was like, I wish they would get all of the commentators from last year of them talking about Urban Meyer and what a great coach he was, put it all together and just have it on repeat in the coach's office. I think that would get them riled up. So I'm saying you take Alabama this against Wisconsin.
And so all that makes sense. Do you think the line is going to start moving in that direction, though?
I do, because as it gets closer to game time, you're going to see a lot of people are going to take the favorite, and they're going to start taking Alabama. So it's going to move for sure. So take it now if you can.
I think we lost Jamie. I think he's calling in a bet now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm taking the 11 and running with it right now.
So let's talk about Auburn open against Louisville, who is a pretty decent team on a neutral site for kickoff weekend.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys, this was a tough line for me. You look at Bobby Petrino. Okay, it's a good thing he's a great football coach, right? If he were a better motorcycle driver, he'd still be the head coach at Arkansas. But Petrino always manages to win, but he's just up against it in this one, guys. Gus Malzahn's offensive attack has to be the toughest thing to prepare for in college football. So I do think there will be a ton of points scored in this one. But what I like is the over of 58.5 points, and I'll tell you why. Louisville played 2 SEC opponents late last year, and they gave up 37 points to Georgia and 40 to Kentucky. So if Kentucky can hang 40 on Louisville's team last year that featured some NFL talent, all right, then what do you think the Gus bus will do to them with an entire offseason to prepare? So if we do the math, all right, guys, so if you can count on Auburn for 40, and I know that Petrino was able to manufacture at least 21 points in 10 of 12 games last year. On this game, I'm going to take the easy money, and I'm betting the over of 58.5 points.
I'm waiting for Jamie to take his shoes off so he can count up to 20.
Well,
did you get there yet, buddy?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
I like your logic, and I'm going to tell you something. Anybody that's watched an Auburn defense the past 2 or 3 years has to expect points to just fall from the clouds with any reasonable team. So I like that play. I like that play a lot.
I like that play too. I'm not sure if I'm sold on the over 58. If it does happen, I think Auburn's going to score a majority of the points.
And so you got a couple of non-SEC games you like for opening weekend.
I do. So my underdog pick this week is BYU +6 against Nebraska. So with Nebraska, you have 5 unnamed suspensions. You have plus your wide receiver and kickoff returner Pearson L is out. All right, and you've got Nebraska is favored by 6 points. I mean, I just don't get that. So if you watched my show last year, I said over and over again, there's no betting matchup that I like more than a team who can run the ball versus a team who can't stop the run. So, and this BYU team has one of the best offensive lines in college football, and they returned their quarterback, Taysom Hill. Look, BYU was 4-0 last year before Hill went down with a broken leg against Utah State. And their season just sort of went down with them. But now Hill's back, and I'm getting 6 points against a rebuilding Nebraska program. I mean, Lord, somebody call Ashton Kutcher, because I thought I was being punked when I saw this line. I think BYU is my underdog pick of the week. Another one I like is also Boise State -11 against Washington. And, guys, I will be betting against Washington in this one. Washington will be at the bottom of the Pac-12 this season, right next to Oregon State. And now they have to go on the road to play on that hideous blue turf, a place that all Pac-12 schools, they just avoid like the plague because they can't win there. I really hope that Chris Peterson is getting paid well for this game to return to Boise, because he's going to hear it from his fans when he returns to Seattle. Look, the Boise State fans are going to be up for this one. They're going to be out to prove that David can still be a force against Goliath. I think you take Boise State. They're going to expose the Huskies in this home opener.
Man, I love betting underdogs, so I love that pick. I tell you about Boise State, I'll bet them, but I refuse to watch any of their games on TV because that field gives me a migraine headache.
I can't take it. It's sacrilegious. The Blues got to go.
I like that pick. I've got Boise State going to the Fiesta Bowl this year. Washington not sniffing anything near a bowl game. So I think that's a great pick.
I tell you guys, you did ask me for a long shot. You asked me for a value pick. This year, looking at it, I have LSU 25-1. And I'll tell you why. LSU went 4-2 in their last 6 games of the year. And then including the game at home against Bama, which if you remember, I hate to say this, but LSU should have won that game.
Oh, right? No doubt. Absolutely.
And now they won these games despite Anthony Jennings being their last resort at quarterback. And this year's team, get this, they lost the fewest players to the NFL last June than any Les Miles coach team at LSU. I think the talent surrounding Miles is just unreal. I mean, and who do I think will be the quarterback? I think it will be Brandon Harris because he provides more of a passing threat. But regardless of who it will be, the quarterback will be handing the ball off to Leonard Fournette over and over again. And they have home games, which I think are key, against Arkansas and Auburn. This LSU team could be undefeated heading into the November matchup with Alabama. And do I think LSU will win the West? Maybe. I think there's 4 teams that can do it. But at 25-1, the 2 key SEC West games in Death Valley, LSU provides some bang for your buck. I mean, this to me was the best pick you could take.
Yeah, I agree with you. Unless the lines have moved, and they usually don't in futures play. I mean, you can't take Alabama at 7-1, even if you think that they have a reasonable shot at winning, and you can't take Auburn at 12-1. And so, what's left? I mean, LSU seems to be the team that's, perennial there, and they seem to be in the hunt. So, yeah, I agree with that, and I love futures betting because even when the season has beat me down, and I don't even feel like waking up on Saturday, I know I still got a futures bet hanging out there.
Yeah, and and on a side note, I think this year potentially the Alabama LSU game could be sort of the game of the year again, like it has been in the past. I really believe in this LSU team this year.
And your best futures pick that you have for us is a team that Jamie Thomas just loves.
This is to me the best pick, hands down. Tennessee under 7.5 wins. I am so sick and tired of hearing all this hype about Tennessee because they won 4 out of their last 5 games last year. I mean, really? Look at who they beat. They beat South Carolina. They beat Kentucky. Okay, woo-woo, right? Iowa. They beat Vandy. And get this, Tennessee was the only SEC team to be outgained by Vandy in total yardage. It cracks me up that 40,000 fans are watching their practices now. But if you watch the real action in Las Vegas, you'll notice the money is pouring in on Tennessee to win less than 8 games this season. Get this, 85% of Vegas bettors are shorting the Vols. And look, check out their schedule the first 7 weeks. It's crazy. Oklahoma, Georgia, Bama, Arkansas, and Florida. I mean, do you really think Josh Dobbs, who just came in the middle of last season, will be standing by the time the back of the half of their season rolls around and they face some teams they can actually beat? I mean, I'm sure Tennessee is getting better. I know they're recruiting. But come on, guys. I mean, SEC East champs. Just because South Carolina and Florida are down, I'm not crowning Tennessee the potential only challenger to Georgia. I'm just not buying the Tennessee hype this year.
I agree with you 100%. The only thing that could top Alabama fans in terms of being delusional are Tennessee fans.
Hey, it wouldn't bother me if Tennessee didn't win a game all year. Slap them with a death penalty, make them play lacrosse or something. I hate those guys.
Or Baylor. Make them play Baylor, please.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on Baylor.
Brett is anti-Baylor.
I'm so anti-Baylor, but that's another story for another time. So before we let you get out of here, we want your predictions for the Final Four for the playoffs this year. I noticed some teams that we all love missing from your predictions for the Final Four.
Well, boys, this is one of my favorite things to do. Look, if you want obvious picks, just don't listen or watch me, right? I mean, I will never give you the obvious picks. You can count on that from me. Just tune into Jesse Palmer if you want the obvious picks, right?
Oh, ouch.
Okay. So, number one, I do have Ohio State. Okay. But, look, they had the easiest schedule to make it to the playoffs. It drives me crazy. They have the easiest schedule. That's the only reason why I have them down.
They have no schedule. They have zero schedule.
Zero schedule. Michigan State is our only hope to beat them. They do have a good quarterback, but this year they're not going to be as good as they were last year. Number two, I have the LSU or Bama winner. Look, I love the Tide. I think the defense is the best under the Nick Saban era, like I said before. But it looks like Blake Barnett's going to be the quarterback, and I have a hard time trusting an 18-year-old quarterback to pull this off. But LSU is better than last season's 8-5 record. They should have beaten Bama at home. This year they get Auburn and Arkansas at home, and I think any improvement in the quarterback position could set up a dream November showdown between Bama and LSU in Tuscaloosa. So whoever wins that game is my number 2 spot.
Jamie, I told you we weren't going to get some Bama homer in here with her and her.
I'm telling you, man, she
landed a smackdown on our teams.
Well, I've got 2 more picks for you guys. So number 3 and number 4, I think will shock you a little bit. Number 3, I've got Stanford, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, Lord.
I've got a 5th-year senior in Kevin Hogan, who's surrounded by NFL linemen. Last year's 8-5 team lost to USC by only 3 points, even though they outgained them by 120-plus yards. Stanford is one of those teams. They play 3 yards in the cloud of dust. I love 3 yards in the cloud of dust. They averaged over 4.3 yards per carry last year, and defensively, they only gave up 3.1 yards per carry. They can run the ball, they can control the clock, they can stop the run. Look for them to possibly take a playoff spot. But my 4th pick is out of the ACC, and I'm not taking Clemson. Georgia Tech is my number 4 team in the playoff, and I'll tell you why. Nobody's talking about them, and I don't know why, because I'm still stunned at what they did at the end of last season. Last season, they went toe-to-toe with Florida State. They knocked off Georgia, and then they just put it to Mississippi State in the bowl game. And say what you will about bowl games, I don't care. They still put it to them. I told you I like 3 yards in the cloud of dust, and their head coach, Paul Johnson, is a huge believer as well. I know the triple option attack might be as boring to watch as C-SPAN.
It is.
But it's consistent. It's difficult for opposing defenses to prepare for. And I think most importantly, it just works. Now, their schedule is brutal this year. They have to play at Notre Dame, at Clemson, then they have Florida State and Georgia at home. But in this case, I'm buying into the ground game. I'm buying into their quarterback, Justin Thomas. And let me tell you something about Justin Thomas real fast. He's from Prattville, Alabama. His middle name is Bryant, after the bear. He committed to Alabama and decommitted when Alabama suggested a position change. Like, I have to believe in this quarterback who's got a middle name for Bryant. They are my sleeper pick to make it to the playoffs.
Well, I tell you, that's Jamie and I. It was either last week or week before. We had a reasonable discussion about teams that run that kind of an offense. It's boring but effective. So that wouldn't surprise me. And we 100% agree with you on that Clemson thing. I don't know what they were drinking over there at CBS when they predicted Clemson for the Final Four, but holy cow, that caught us completely off guard. I don't know where that came from.
Sometimes they got to change it up a bit. We're all bored. We're also ready for college football. We're just ready for the games to start.
Well, first of all, Jamie, are you not impressed? Did I not tell you that she knows what she's talking about?
I'm extremely impressed. This has elevated our game quite a bit.
So I'm sad to notify you that this will be your last week on the show, Jamie, and next week it'll just be.
I had a feeling this was coming.
No, I'm kidding.
It was my pleasure. I love it. I am so excited to be doing this with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. You can catch up with all that she has to offer on her website, 3yardsinthecloud.com. Follow her on Twitter at 3YITC. Elizabeth Sturdivant, thank you so much for your insight this week, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
I can't wait, guys. I can't wait.
So we'll talk to you next time. We'll do it again next week, buddy. War Eagle.
All right, roll Tide.
Don't forget to follow us at Tigers and Tide 1 on Twitter and Facebook.com/Tigers and Tide. Also, be sure to follow War Eagle Sports Radio at War Eagle Radio for the latest on Auburn Tigers sports. Thanks for listening to the Auburn Football Podcast from SoutheasternFootball.com on War Eagle Sports Radio of the Sporto channel. Download our free iOS app. Just search for Tigers and Tide in the App Store. And subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. Just search for Tigers and Tide. And for the latest SEC news, log on to SoutheasternFootball.com.